September 11th, 2001. A clear blue sky. No warning, no clue. And then, boom! Two planes slice through New York's skyline like blades. The world stops. And within minutes, America realizes this ain't an accident. This is war. The FBI scrambles, phones blow up. Agents are flying across states, tracking ghosts that don't exist. Every second counts. Every clue could stop the next hit. They called it PENTTBOM, short for Pennsylvania, Pentagon, Twin Towers bombing. The biggest investigation in FBI history. Thousands of agents, 500,000 leads, and one mission: find the bastards who did this. What they uncovered next changed the way the world fights terror forever. This is the story of 9/11, inside the FBI's biggest case. September 11th, 2001. A Tuesday morning that looked perfect. Clear skies, warm sun. New York City just doing its usual grind. People grabbing coffee, heading to work. Same old vibe. No one had the slightest clue that the next 90 minutes were about to change the damn world. 8:46 a.m. Out of nowhere, a massive shadow cuts through the sky. American Airlines Flight 11 slamming straight into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Boom! Fireball, smoke everywhere. People frozen in disbelief. Phones out, screams echoing through downtown Manhattan. At first, everyone thought maybe an accident, a plane malfunction, some freak tragedy. But bro, 15 minutes later, another plane. United Airlines Flight 175. It hits the South Tower like a missile. At that moment, everyone knew this wasn't no damn accident. This was war. Back in Washington, D.C., the FBI and every intel agency went full panic mode. Phones ringing off the hook. Nobody knew how many planes were hijacked, how big the attack was, or who the hell was behind it. Then, at 9:37 a.m., another one, Flight 77, hits the Pentagon. America's freaking defense headquarters burning. If that ain't symbolic, nothing is. And as the chaos unfolds, another plane, Flight 93, goes down in rural Pennsylvania. Passengers fought back like heroes. They knew they were going to die, but they weren't going to let that plane hit another building. In less than 2 hours, 2,976 people were gone, thousands injured. And America? Shocked to its core. Nobody, not even the FBI, had seen something like this before. Within minutes, the Bureau launched PENTTBOM. That's short for Pennsylvania, Pentagon, and Twin Towers bombing. It became the biggest investigation in FBI history. Over half the agents in the country dropped everything to hunt down the people who planned this nightmare. And bro, what they uncovered next? It blew the lid off everything the world thought it knew about terrorism, intelligence, and how deep the network really went. Inside the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., it was pure madness. Agents rushing, phones ringing non-stop. Everyone trying to make sense of something that didn't make any damn sense. Then, FBI Director Robert Mueller had just taken over the job a week earlier, and boom, he's thrown into the biggest terror case in U.S. history. Talk about bad timing, man. The Bureau activated its Strategic Information and Operations Center. That's the war room where all hell breaks loose, but somehow stays organized. Every screen flashing maps, flight paths, suspect lists, intercepted calls, chaos, but with purpose. Mueller did something bold. Instead of sending the case to a single field office like normal, he said, "Screw it. We run this from HQ." The operation was codenamed PENTTBOM, and this beast was going to need every agent the FBI had. More than 4,000 agents hit the field. Thousands more analysts, linguists, bomb techs, and profilers joined in. Every clue, every phone call, every flight booking, every damn piece of paper mattered. Sound, faint computer typing, radios crackling. The first 48 hours were insane. Hundreds of thousands of leads came flooding in from the public. People calling in, "I saw something. My neighbor's acting weird. Someone left a suitcase at the airport." The FBI followed everything. No sleep, no breaks. Just pure adrenaline and purpose. Meanwhile, back at the crash sites, recovery crews were digging and agents were sifting through the rubble, looking for black boxes, IDs, and anything that screamed, "Who did this?" The entire country wanted answers, and the FBI was about to drop everything to find them. By the end of the second day, the Bureau had one major lead: passenger manifests from the 4 planes. And on those lists, 19 names started to pop up. All men, mostly from the Middle East, all connected in ways that didn't make sense yet. But it was the start of a trail that would lead straight into the darkest corners of the planet. They didn't know it yet, but the next few weeks would take the FBI deep into flight schools, money trails, and sleeper cells that had been hiding in plain sight. And every new clue would make the story even crazier. Because these guys, they'd been planning this for years, and the U.S. never saw them coming. The first few days after 9/11 were chaos, but beneath that chaos, the Bureau was starting to see a pattern. And patterns? That's what the FBI lives for. They had those 19 names from the flight manifests. At first glance, nothing crazy. But when the agents started digging, man, it was like pulling a thread on a bomb. Most of these guys had come into the U.S. months earlier, living quiet, renting apartments, learning how to fly. Flight schools in Florida, Arizona, California, all showing the same names popping up. They weren't tourists. They were training for something way bigger. The FBI started calling it the Trail of Ghosts because every time they followed one name, it vanished into another. Fake IDs, fake addresses, clean bank accounts. But one thing always connected them: money. Agents traced wire transfers coming from the Middle East, mostly through Dubai, moving into U.S. bank accounts under fake identities. It was clean, professional, and quiet. These dudes weren't amateurs. They were part of something way bigger. And that's when a familiar name popped up: Osama bin Laden. Al-Qaeda. The group that had already bombed U.S. embassies and hit the USS Cole a year earlier. Now, it looked like they'd just pulled off the most coordinated terror attack in history. Inside the FBI, the realization hit hard. They weren't chasing local criminals. They were facing an international network that had been hiding right under the radar. Cut to subtle sound of typing, papers shuffling. The Bureau went beast mode. They launched hundreds of raids, grabbed thousands of documents, and followed every lead across 30 countries. Agents teamed up with Interpol, MI5, the CIA, anyone who could help connect the dots. Every hotel receipt, every car rental, every cell phone ping, all went into the PENTTBOM files. By the third week, the case had grown to over 500,000 leads. 500,000, bro. That's insane. Then came a breakthrough. Agents recovered a piece of luggage that had missed one of the hijacked flights. Inside it, a gold mine, instructions in Arabic, flight manuals, and letters connecting the hijackers directly to Al-Qaeda operatives overseas. That's when it clicked. The whole operation had been planned for years. They'd studied America's security systems, tested flight routes, and chosen their targets with surgical precision. The FBI wasn't just investigating a crime scene anymore. They were unraveling a blueprint for global terror. Every answer led to another question. Who funded them? Who trained them? And most importantly, who else was still out there waiting to strike next? The ghosts were fading, but their trail was about to drag the FBI into the most secretive manhunt the world had ever seen. By week 3, the FBI wasn't just investigating anymore. They were hunting. And not small-time crooks either. They were chasing ghosts that moved through borders, switched names, and left chaos in their wake. This wasn't some CSI episode, bro. This was a global game of cat and mouse, and the cat was pissed. Inside FBI headquarters, agents had built what they called the War Room. Maps everywhere. Photos pinned with red strings, flight school rosters, bank transfers, satellite images. The whole setup looked straight out of a spy movie. But this was real, and it was personal. The FBI, CIA, NSA, even the Secret Service all teamed up. They'd never worked this close before, but 9/11 changed the rule book. Walls between agencies came crashing down, and suddenly everyone was sharing intel like never before. Every hour mattered. Leads were coming in from Germany, Pakistan, the UAE, and the clock was ticking on the fear that another attack might be coming. So the Bureau started tracing the hijackers' entire lives in America. They found one had been taking flight training in Florida. Another was seen buying box cutters at a store weeks before the attack. Some had lived quietly in small-town apartments, paying rent on time, smiling at neighbors. Nobody suspected a damn thing. Then, the money trail exploded. Millions moved quietly through untraceable channels. Charities, shell companies, even student loans. It was all there right under America's nose, and the scary part, the guys funding it weren't hiding in caves. They were sitting in cities, sipping coffee, moving cash, planning more chaos. By late September, the FBI had identified the full 19-man team. Their leader, Mohammed Atta, cold, disciplined, methodical. He'd trained for years, coordinated every detail, and behind him a whole army of silent supporters spread across continents. The FBI called in every ally they could. British MI5, German BKA, Saudi intelligence. Everyone started feeding pieces of the puzzle. Slowly, the full network came into view. That's when the name Al-Qaeda stopped being a whisper and became a headline. Osama bin Laden's face everywhere. For years, the man had been building this empire of hate, and now the U.S. knew exactly who they were dealing with. By early October, President Bush had declared a full-blown war on terror. Afghanistan became ground zero. FBI agents were flying overseas with the military, collecting intel, interrogating suspects, seizing hard drives, finding training camps. And every time they found another clue, they realized how deep this web went. This wasn't just one attack. This was a machine, a global network built to strike again and again. But the U.S., it was done taking hits. The manhunt was now global, and the ghosts the FBI had been chasing were finally starting to bleed into the light. By the time the smoke cleared, the FBI had built the biggest case file in its entire history. PENTTBOM. Over 500,000 leads, thousands of interviews, hundreds of arrests, and still, the weight of it all hung heavy. Nearly 3,000 innocent lives lost. and a whole nation forever changed. The Bureau had found their 19 hijackers, tracked their funding, exposed their network, but man, there was no victory dance, just silence. Because the truth hit hard. The warning signs had been there, and nobody had connected the dots in time. Beat of tension, low rumble. After 9/11, the FBI tore itself apart from the inside, rebuilding, reshaping, reinventing. They went from chasing criminals after the fact to hunting threats before they happened, a full-blown shift in how the Bureau worked. New systems, new tech, new mindset. The Patriot Act dropped, giving agencies massive surveillance powers. The Department of Homeland Security was born, and the FBI built a brand new division focused purely on counterterrorism, intel gathering, cyber tracking, and threat analysis. Agents started sitting side by side with CIA analysts and NSA techies. No more silos, no more secrets between them. If one agency sniffed something off, everyone knew within minutes. Because 9/11 had taught the harshest lesson imaginable. Information can save lives, or cost them. And still, the scars ran deep. First responders were dying years later from toxic exposure at ground zero. Families were rebuilding lives from nothing. And for millions of Americans, the world before 9/11 was gone forever. Inside the Bureau, veterans of the case still talk about it like it happened yesterday. The smell of jet fuel, the dust in the air, the faces on the missing posters. For them, PENTTBOM wasn't just a case. It was a war fought with files, photos, and fingerprints. The FBI never closed the case, not really. It stays open, symbolic, alive. A reminder that terrorism doesn't die when the planes stop falling. It evolves. And the fight to stop it never ends. September 11th, 2001, the day time stopped. But for the men and women chasing those shadows, time never started again. This was PENTTBOM, the investigation that rewired the world and proved that even in the darkest hour, truth still fights its way to the surface.